Hello and welcome to this episode of Backstage. I am super stoked for you to hear from my guest today. He's a really good friend of Dustin and I. So he's really family here. He's a husband to MK, he's dad to Lyndon, and you might know him as Tweener from Prison Break. I've got here today Lane Garrison, who's going to tell you a lot about his story growing up here in Texas, moving to LA, landing Tweener in Prison Break, and some really hard stuff that came after that. So he's got a really honest, vulnerable, and incredible story of redemption and God's hand on his life. I'm really excited for you to hear it. Go see his movie coming out in November, hopefully, of 2020 called 12 Mighty Orphans. But in the meantime, enjoy Lane Garrison, aka Tweener. Thank you for doing this.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I'm so excited.
I am too.
Oh, so
I love doing these.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're like...
I think the last podcast I did, it will be anonymous, but...
Katie Couric?
No, was this guy who was asking me all these questions, and MK's like, is this guy all together? And I was like, I don't drink alcohol, and I'm a sober guy. And then he's like, oh, really? Because, yeah, down in Austin, there's all these great breweries, and wanted to keep talking about alcohol. And I'm like...
That was his whole...
Yeah. Like, this guy didn't get it. This is a weird podcast.
He just wants to
Some
talk.
of them have been really weird. I don't know why.
Is
I've
it
got
leaking?
a leaky coffee
Is
cup.
it leaking?
Yeah. Do we have an extra cup
Is there an extra
so I don't ruin this table?
How funny. So he just wanted to talk booze. And
Yeah, I'm like, what podcast am I on? What if they sign me up for? Get me off this.
Oh, my goodness. What's MK doing?
She's asleep in bed. So my mother-in-law's in and has the baby down in Austin. So she's literally sleeping.
Good for her.
That's what she's doing.
That's exactly what she should
I
be
know.
doing.
And yesterday I was like, I miss Lyndon. I miss Lyndon.
bet
I
you
need her
do.
up here. And she's like, don't do this to me. Do not guilt me. Okay, this might never happen again. I have a week off. Like, do not do this right now.
The picture of Lyndon on the set
Oh yeah,
in the
so
chair
cute.
with
So
your
cute.
little, what is she holding? Was it
So
like a
those are
cover?
headphones.
It was headphones. I
Yeah.
couldn't figure it out.
So they give when you produce them on the scenes, so you can hear the scene
Okay,
as it's playing
yeah.
out. Thank you, man.
Oh, my
Sorry.
goodness,
I don't know why we got a leaky cup.
Cute. So does she like coming? Does she
Yeah, she's
know her
everybody.
dad's a big shot? Does she?
No, she doesn't know that yet. But she knows she's the big shot. Everybody loves seeing her on set.
She's
It's
electric.
So cool.
She's
It's
amazing.
So cool. And we were shooting out at a real orphanage. So there were still
okay.
22 kids that lived there.
You're kidding. Really?
It's pretty remarkable.
Are they in the movie?
We put some in
extras
the
or
movie.
anything? Yeah.
We put,
Oh,
thank
my
you, man.
word. Thanks,
We
Chris.
put some in the movie and brought them on set. We all had lunch with Luke and the guys. It was cool. But yeah, it was an orphanage built in 1899.
Oh, my word. Did you find it?
We found it
Okay,
first shooting. Yeah, we were looking for an orphanage,
amazing.
and where it took place, the story they redid the whole thing. So we needed an old
amazing.
school.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Okay, I want you to talk about the movie, but are we good, guys? Okay, awesome. I'm so excited. I'm
excited.
I'm so excited. I got my
excited.
friend here.
My fam.
We're fam. We're so fam. Little background.
Yeah.
Hilarious. Have we told you the story of when Dustin, the first time we met you?
No.
Do you remember? It was in the old building, right?
It was pre-snake wrangling in the old building of
he
the
was
harvest.
walking in hoping that there were going to be some snakes.
I
that we
just told Jamie, I said, it's amazing to walk through this building and see how much it's changed. Because
is,
when I came here years ago,
It was like, what, 8 years ago?
it was like 8 years
Yeah.
ago, my cousin Misty and Ray, who belonged to the church, brought me into this little old rinky-dink building and with low ceilings and bad light. And I literally looked around like, are they about to break out a rattlesnake and say,
You thought
if
your
this
family
snake
joined a
bites me,
cult?
Jesus doesn't love me. I thought my family might have joined a cult with the old church until I met Pastor Steve. And then Dustin and Jamie came into the world and just turned this church upside down. And it is remarkable. It really is a blessing, the growth
It is.
of this. It
Yeah.
shows the power of God.
Pretty cool. You saw
Working
it
through
from,
everybody's life.
Yeah, it is. It's so true. So funny story about when you were there. Okay, so if you don't know already, which we'll talk about all of these things, but Lane was my favorite character on Prison Break from back in the day, Tweener.
Tweener, yo. It's prison, yo.
It's like the real Tweeners here. Oh, wait, yes.
Oh my gosh. There's not a day that doesn't go by that somebody
Tweener.
Grabs me and calls me.
Well, it's a pretty iconic character.
It was pretty
amazing.
That was a fun show.
Okay, so I want to hear Prison Break stories. But so you show up at our small little church at the time with your family, and you're just in the audience worshiping, hearing, and Dustin's on stage. He's my husband, and he's speaking, and he looks out and he's like, oh, I know that guy from somewhere. And so he's greeting right at the end, and he's walking out, and he's like, I know, have you been around? Were you like one of the youth from back in the day or whatever it was? And you were like, you made. And Dustin's like, no, I know you are. And we are in the middle of Prison Break. Like, we are like smack dab in the middle of watching. He's like, no, I know you. And I
do remember this.
Did he place you, or did you have to tell him?
I said, you might know me from Prison Break. And he's like, what? Mind blown. Like, wait, what? He couldn't draw 2 and 2 together. He's like, what are you doing in the Church of the Rattlesnakes? Worshiping the Lord. The guy Tweener from Prison Break. But
and then you like brought sign cast photos. You brought, do you remember this? You sent us pictures of everything, and it was so awesome.
These guys are family now.
Yeah, and now we're family.
We are family.
We are.
And Dustin married my wife and I, and my wife wants to have kids that look like Jamie's sons and give them haircuts. Yesterday she was talking about Jamie's. She's like, we need to have a little boy and cut their hair like Jamie and Dustin cut their hair. I'm like, okay. Random
or you can
thoughts.
Just have another little girl, and then we got 2 boys.
Do not put that on me. Don't you put that on me, Ricky Bobby. I don't need another little girl. I need that baby boy. Please, Lord.
Okay, so you have so many things in your repertoire.
I have.
You have so many things. I know now husband and father is
is the best thing that's ever happened to me.
Better than playing Tweener?
Better than playing.
What was your name, your bad guy name in Roots?
Slave Master Frederick Murray.
Oh, I never watched it. Because your cousin told me, she's like, if you watch it, you're not going to have an issue with Lane.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to see him in church and not want to talk
My
to
own
him.
aunt told me I deserved to die. So after, I'm like, I just played a character.
It was a very
Goodness
convincing.
gracious.
But better than all the roles.
I was proud of that. I got nominated for a Critics' Choice Award,
right.
which was a big deal, and for an Emmy and stuff for that role, which is shocking because I'm playing a slave master.
Yes,
they
so
normally
bad.
don't reward roles like that.
Right.
But I guess I play a bad guy good. Or as my wife says, why do you always have to play a bad guy? Because it's not me and it's fun. It's the one time I can actually.
Because you are a really great guy. It's fun for you
to
be.
Because that would never ever cross my mind, and it's so
act
far
like
removed.
That, right?
Yeah, so I can at least justify it if somebody else is writing it.
MK told me she couldn't even watch your last movie because you're killing people, you're cheating.
She won't watch anything I do. She will not watch a single thing I do.
Has she seen Prison Break?
She saw one episode on accident when her mom on Christmas Day clicked over, and it was a scene where I'm in jail rapping. And this was right when we started dating, and her mom goes, "You're bringing this guy to my house?" I'm like, yeah. So that was the one thing she's seen. Oh. But we've laid, it's funny, we lay in bed and we'll go through Netflix. Mm-hmm. And the other night we're looking and it was like, oh, I'm in that movie, or I wrote that movie, I wrote that one. I've done all this great work. I've been really blessed. And she looks over to me and she goes, how are we not rich? I'm like, well, I have to explain to her I pay an agent, a manager, taxes, attorney, publicist. And then you're stuck
and now
with
a baby girl.
And now a baby girl. So
she gets the rest.
So we'll
left
keep
over.
the townhouse. That's it.
Oh my gosh! But it's been the highlight of life. You'd say father and
the highlight of
husband.
life. I told her this last night for our anniversary. I made her a box and said, "You are God's answered prayer in my life."
Yeah.
And I always tell her that because it seems so far-fetched for me to have a beautiful, loving, godly, amazing wife and a child because that was not my world.
Right.
It's what I prayed for
right.
and what those are my hopes and desires.
Well,
but I
okay,
never
so what was
thought-
your world? What was your world?
My world was
You're from Texas.
and you know, for those listening, we're going to speak very off the cuff today
'Cause we're family.
We're family,
Welcome
but
to
I'm going to be
family,
very
everyone.
raw about my walk
Awesome.
in Christianity. I'm going to be very raw about my life. And I'm pretty much an open book, and, you know, I'm going to good, bad, ugly, indifferent. And I say this now so that people know how far the Lord has delivered my life, blessed my life, and I'm fully aware that He is 100% in control of my life. When I was out of control, He was in control of it. And so anyway, my life before that was 20 years in Los Angeles.
Okay. You were born in Texas, though,
I was
right?
born in Dallas, Texas. I grew up here. I played football my whole life. That was my whole world.
Plano?
JJ Pierce.
Richardson. Okay.
Go Mustangs.
Go
And,
Mustangs.
you know, I
Okay.
wanted to play pro football. That
Parents
was
together?
my parents had split up, and
Okay.
unfortunately, my parents were very sick. They had a lot of illnesses, and my mother passed away when she was 41, and my dad died 3 years later.
Oh,
And they
man.
were way too young. So I lost my parents at a young,
And so how old would that make you at the time?
I was 18.
Okay.
And my sister, unfortunately, was 13.
Oh,
and she went to an
so hard.
orphanage, which that'll come full
Yeah.
circle into this movie.
Oh, my goodness.
And
I
I
didn't
went
even
to
know
stay
this.
with my youth pastor and his family at the time for like 3 months while I figured out what I wanted to do after high school.
You were left alone at 18.
I was, yes, it was a troubling time for me. But I
Wow.
will say I was heavily involved with my church, which is still an operating church.
Really?
The Heights Baptist Church
Oh,
in
yeah,
Richardson,
the
right off
Heights, yeah.
75.
Yeah.
And got my first job there. I was the janitor of the church.
No way. Oh, I'm learning so much.
Oh, yeah. I saved up $400 from that job so I could move to LA
Really?
and pursue this dream.
So,
But
okay, back up. So obviously this is a really hard season of life. You're 18, you lose both parents, and you want to be an actor at this point, or you always wanted to?
So
Was there
I
always
lost my
something-
mom and then my dad shortly after.
Yep.
Both my parents never got to see anything I ever did,
Yeah.
sadly.
Did you have, like, before they passed, did you ever share with them, like, did you want to be an actor?
You know what's crazy? So my father was a beautiful artist, painter. He could literally look at you and draw you to perfection.
Oh, wow.
I mean, he was a talented man. And my mother was a talented musician, a pianist. And they were both failed artists. So it's weird that this path that was inside of me. As a kid, I felt like I was 10 feet tall. I could do anything.
Wow.
And I think that's so important.
And that came from your dad?
That came from my dad. And my dad said, listen, where most parents, I opted to not go to college. I could have gone and played college football. And I said, I'm not going to go to college. I'm going to go pursue this dream and go make movies.
Yeah.
Where most parents would be like, no, you're doing this. My dad said that if anyone could do it, Lane, you could do it. You can accomplish anything that your heart desires. And he really led me believe that I could do it, which has helped me in life
for
tremendously. So
You
I
saved the
move out.
$400.
I saved the $400. I'm in a broken down, like purple, I think it was a Mitsubishi, not Eclipse. It was like a Plymouth Razor.
Did you drive it down, or did you go down
I drove
and
it
buy
there, stick shift.
Yep.
Got a ticket going 100 miles an hour.
And is your head, like, where is your headspace at that point? Are you full of dreams? I'm gonna conquer. I can do it. Like, you've got
Yes.
Are you freaking out? You're ready to like.
I'm 18. On the way there, it was like windows down, crank the music up.
Sure.
Like, I'm going to pursue this dream. By the time I got to LA, I'm not going to lie. It was like the scene in Big where Tom Hanks is Big for the first night and gunshots are going off and you hear police sirens and he's curled up in the bed. I was in a $19 a night motel in Koreatown, literally freaking out. What have I done?
Yeah.
I've ruined my life. I'm scared to death. I was in tears a little bit. And I started this journey. I'll back up really quickly. Yep. I got dared in high school to try out for the high school musical chorus line with my other football buddies.
Okay. As a dare. I got up on stage. I belted out this song. I had to act and I had to dance. Do you remember the song?
I don't remember it.
Okay.
It was from a chorus line.
Okay.
And I just went for it. And the theater teacher said, you're not getting this lead role because you can't dance, but you can act. And you're coming in the theater club. So she made me join the theater club.
Oh, that's cool.
And so I'm on the football team and I'm in the theater club in both worlds.
Yep.
And then I did a monologue in theater where I had to get angry at a parent. I forget the monologue, but I picked up a chair. I smashed it on the desk. I threw it up against the wall and I went ballistic.
Yeah.
And she said, I need to see you after class. I think I'm in trouble. I'm going to the principal's office, whatever. I'm being kicked out of here. And she said, you know, you've got a natural gift for this. And if you want to go pursue acting,
Oh my goodness.
I know a manager in LA.
No
and I'll
way.
put her in a call. So she did. And that's how I moved to LA.
Oh my
But when I got there,
word.
that manager's like, yeah, you have no talent. You could be my assistant's assistant.
Okay.
And so I start the journey there at the bottom and just said, okay, well, I'm going
So
to
you
work
had a
and
humble
learn. And I had a
journey.
humble journey right when I got there.
But you took the job.
I took
The
the job.
assistant's assistant. Yeah. Okay.
I took the job as the assistant's assistant while I worked and figured it out. And then it took me years. It was struggling for
Really?
years. That car broke down. I would take the bus at 4 a.m. I would go to acting school at noon after I've worked an 8-hour shift.
So
and then,
mentally, are you like just in a good place?
yes.
Like you're still like,
I've got my Christian foundation from growing up here with strong roots. And
you're just pursuing your dream. You're
I'm
putting your
pursuing
head
my
down.
dream.
You're working hard. Life is okay.
life is okay at this point.
It's hard,
And
but it's okay.
it's hard because I'm struggling
Right.
financially, but
Right.
my boots are still firm on the ground. So I figure a way to break in is, well, they've got to make movies. And to make movies, you have to write movies. They have to have scripts. And I still can't get my foot in the door as an actor. So I start writing movies. And my first script gets bought when I was 21 by Madonna, of all
No.
people.
What?
It was called Chasing Faith. They never made the movie.
No way.
But it got me a bunch of notoriety because I'm this
Right.
21-year-old kid
Yeah.
writing
So you're
this
writing
movie.
in your room at night?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm
so
writing at
this,
night.
like you're doing this on your own.
I'm doing
in
this-
hopes of
well,
it
I
being-
met with
I
a-
don't know how it works.
I had a writing partner at the time, Mark
Okay.
Famigletti, who was also a struggling actor.
Okay.
And
So you write and then you like take it around.
yeah,
And-
you would
okay.
write. And then if you met somebody, you would say, oh, I've got a script.
Gotcha,
Or you meet
okay.
a producer and you're out there networking.
Okay.
And so that got bought, got us some attention. And then we sold another movie to MGM.
Okay.
And that got bought and set up.
I didn't even
and
know this about you. So
Yeah.
your roots are really writing.
My roots are really writing.
Interesting.
And I wrote something else. So then I've got the studio deal at MGM. I'm this 21-year-old kid. I finally got a little money in my pocket, but it's LA. That's not enough to live.
Right.
But you're kind of like, okay, you're the new prodigy. You're a 21-year-old kid and you're writing movies. And so this big agent signs us and sits me down and says, what are your plans?
Yeah.
What do you want to do?
Right.
And I said, I don't really want to write. I'm just doing this so I can act. And he's like, what? I'm like, I want to act, man. And he represented the creator of Prison Break. And I said, oh, I saw the pilot for that show. I want to get on that show. It's perfect.
So, I thought you were in the pilot.
I wasn't in the pilot.
Oh, so
I was
Tweener
in the
didn't
first
come-
season. I didn't
Okay.
come into like episode 7. or
Okay, so
something.
you saw Prison Break.
So-
I'm just trying to
Yeah.
imagine. You see this show, which is we binged the first 2 or
Yeah.
3 seasons in
I saw this
in
show
5 days.
I saw this show
You see it-
before anyone had ever seen it and
Okay.
told my agent the show's going to be a monster hit.
Yeah.
Because I was an addict of it.
It
I
was
like, wow.
so good.
And
First season.
I said, first season
yeah,
was.
they really were.
So and it went downhill after they killed Tweener. But they put me, I said, I want to be on the show.
Okay.
He goes, well, it doesn't work that way. They've got to write a character or something in your age range. And I just felt this gut instinct that I'm supposed to be on it. Well, 3 weeks later, he calls and said, they created this character I think you're right for and got me an audition. And this is my first real big audition. So I walked.
So up to this point, you weren't even like kind of landing big roles.
No.
You're just, and you walk into this audition where you've already seen the pilot of a show you know is
Right.
Okay.
And I walk into Fox
Are
Studios.
you freaking out or are you pretty calm under pressure?
I was pretty calm.
Yeah.
And in fact, I was so calm that I walked into an audition. Now, when you go into an audition,
Did you know? Okay, I have so many questions. Did you know the character? Did you know?
I knew.
Okay,
right
so
when
you
I read
familiarized.
it, I memorized it.
Okay.
I was like, I could play this guy in my sleep.
Yep.
And you walk into Fox, and there's literally, when you go to audition, there's like 20 guys that look identical to you. They might just be like a little taller, a little shorter, maybe his hair's blonde, but they look just identical
like
to you. So I'm sitting in this lobby and I'm looking at all these other guys that look like me. And then they call my name and I go in. And the first thing I said to the casting director, I said, you can send all those guys home. And he goes, excuse me? I go, all those guys waiting in the lobby, you can send them home. No. I did. And he's like, I was like, I'm Tweener. And he goes, okay. I go, yeah, send them home. Trust me. And he's like, all right, kid, you've got it. Okay, you proved to me.
Okay, pause. Are you playing a part at this point?
No, I was being myself.
I was full on, you're Tweener.
I know I'm
so
Tweener. I know I'm supposed to be this role.
Yeah, okay.
So
this is full on confidence. It came from Dad.
It came
however long ago. For real.
That confidence
this is awesome.
can get you in some trouble too. So
we'll talk about that later.
So
oh my gosh.
He makes me read and I do it and he goes, wow. You're really good.
So did you do the whole thing?
Like I did the whole thing. I like sagged my pants.
You did? Yeah.
I rolled up my sleeve.
Was there something you do with your hands all the time?
Yeah, I did my hands. I did the whole deal. And so then I think I've got the part, but I have to audition like 6 more times. When you audition, you studio heads and network and creator and directors. And finally, I go through that process. I keep doing the same thing. Every time I get in a room, I'm like, I am Tweener. Stop auditioning me. And I finally got it. And that.
Did you read with any of the other guys at that point?
No.
Okay.
No, just the creator, Paul Shearing. And so I get the show. It's a huge victory for me.
Sure.
As an actor.
When you walk onto the set the first day.
It was was that prison, Joliet prison.
Okay. What state? Is this in LA? Okay.
Illinois.
Okay, so you flew over to Illinois.
So I flew to Illinois.
I just can't imagine walking on this set and seeing Michael Scofield.
Yeah.
Who you would already, what's the other, Lincoln?
Lincoln Burrows.
and you're.
Teabag.
Is Teabag as bad as,
he's the nicest guy.
Of course he is.
Yeah.
It's just like you with the Roots guy. It's like the nicest guy.
So
okay, anyways.
I show up on this big set and you haven't
done commercials, nothing.
I've done like a couple commercials, like Eastpak backpacks and like Sony PlayStation. I've done a couple commercials, but this is a big deal.
This is huge, yeah.
And this started the journey for me. And Prison Break obviously took off, became a #1 hit show on TV.
Yep.
All of a sudden, I go from, my parents were both very sick. And so we didn't have, we had zero money. In fact, we didn't have a washer or dryer that worked. I would do my laundry over at a friend's house and things.
Okay.
And because the medical bills were just so astronomical.
Wow.
So all of a sudden, here I am, this kid that's making like $25,000 a week. Okay.
Okay.
And this is a recipe for a disaster. This is for other, and I'm telling this now because even though I'm a Christian and was a Christian at this point, if you are not involved in your daily walk of your life, right, you will be tempted on every level, and you will deviate from the plan and path that God wanted to put you on. So here I am, and that's where the story leads to.
Okay,
24 years old, just turning 24, making $25,000 a week. That's a lot of money for a kid, and all of a sudden, I'm on a hit TV show. All of a sudden, doors you've never seen, and I understand why these kids, kid actors and everything crash and burn and without morals and foundation and everything else, because this is a worldly, ungodly place.
Did you have a guiding light at this point at all? Was there anyone, or were you pretty much just it's you and the world?
And the problem with it is when you're paying all these people, agents and managers, and they're getting a paycheck off you, you're surrounded by yes men.
You're a commodity.
You're a commodity, and no one's there beside my great friends I grew up with to tell you, don't do that.
You're being an idiot.
You don't do that. Or what are you thinking? Or they become yes men. And that is detrimental to growth.
Man.
And
that's really good.
Yeah. And at that age, So 24, making
Yep.
this money, hit TV show. They tell me.
Did you love doing it? Did you love the part?
I love the
You
part.
loved it? Yeah.
I love the part. I love.
You liked the cast?
Yeah. I mean, for me, it was, I felt like I worked so hard to get this point, and I felt like nothing bad will ever happen again. And I'm like, I made it. Look, Mom, I made it. I feel this, you start puffing up your chest, and God will find a way to humble you quickly. And that's where this is
preaching
happening.
You preached 3 sermons so far. I feel like there's a lot more coming. This is really
there
good.
is.
This is really good
We're just getting started.
Oh, the Dallas news station needs to hold off. He's got to run from here to to another interview.
Because my father was an alcoholic. Like I said, good man, but struggled with drinking. I didn't drink. And I didn't. Because of that? I didn't drink. I stayed away from drugs, all of that stuff while my friends were off in college and doing whatever people do in college. I didn't do any of that. I worked and I wrote and I studied my craft and I went all in. So now all of a sudden, all these doors open and I start to drink. And I start to drink a little more. And it leads to this world where I'm going. And quickly, it's becoming a daily thing. Yeah. Where I just have a drink, whether it's before work, after work, whatever.
Yep.
The party was not going to stop.
So even in Illinois, it's happening for you. I mean,
it started in Illinois, and then they tell me we're moving the show lane to Dallas, to your hometown of Dallas.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, for second season.
Okay.
And we moved here, and I moved into the penthouse downtown at the W Hotel. So the Ghost Bar is above. My neighbors were the people of the Ghost Bar. And this is Recipe for Disaster. We know guilty by association, right? And what you're surrounded by, what's your environment, everything you put in. And so I put myself in a situation that was a recipe for disaster. So that party train that left wasn't like I was a bad guy. I wasn't like, hey, look at me, whatever, ego. I was doing everything behind closed doors. So I was living that lie where I was good at putting on the smile and everything's fine, but I'm running down to my hotel room and drinking alcohol and booze just to get through things and medicate. And so that train really caught up to me quickly, and especially coming from an alcoholic's background. Well, cut to me being killed on the show. And
watching you get killed. And I did not see that
coming.
That
happened right out here in Allen.
They filmed that in Allen?
They filmed it right here.
No. I am learning so much. I did not see that coming. And I consider myself pretty TV proficient. I can normally see deaths coming. And what was sad is my second favorite character was Mahone.
Oh, yeah.
On the show. And he's the one that...
He's the one that got me.
He's the one that got you. Okay, so did you know that was coming for you?
I didn't, but Fox wanted to sign me to a 5-year deal. And my agents and managers at the time said, you're going to do movies with Wahlberg. We're going to make you a movie star. Don't do it. Just keep working every week. You're fine. And I didn't sign their deal, and they killed me the next week. And I went to the producers, and I said, what's going on? They said, you didn't sign your deal, and the network's ticked off, and you're dead. So I get killed, and my identity at this point has become Lane Garrison, the actor, the famous guy on Prison Break on the hit show. And that's all I believe my self-worth to be, coupled with drinking and my life starting to go out of control. So once I'm dead off the show, I crash and burn. Literally, I have a low. Where I don't think I'm going to ever work again. That confidence we talked about feels gone. Everything's gone. And I spiraled out of control. And December 2nd of 2006, I go to a party that's a block from my house. And
This is in LA.
And I had some shots and I drank and I got behind the wheel. And the next thing you know, 19 minutes of bad decision making. I get in a DUI accident. And a young man loses his life, and I go from Prison Break to prison. And I spend the next 2.5 years living the character I played on TV. Gosh. And you talk about humility and humbling and what we talk about, faith and everything that happened in my life. And to be completely frank, once I found out that a person lost their life, I felt suicidal.
Sure.
And it's only by the grace of God that my Sunday school teacher who lived in LA came and beat down my door.
Really?
Him and his son. And they came and
Sunday
got me.
School from childhood?
From the Heights.
No
They
way.
lived out there. They came and got me and got all my clothes. And I ended up living with them while we went through all of this. And I laid on their floor and sobbed and sobbed and sobbed. And they laid hands on me and they prayed over me. And I was in a bad place. I just, there's a place where I couldn't forgive myself. I didn't want to live anymore. I felt like all dreams, career, everything that I'd worked for is gone. All the hopes and dreams.
Yep.
And so cut to me being sent to prison.
Yeah.
And everyone thought I was going to plead not guilty because of circumstances and everything. In fact, I stopped the judge and told him, no, I'm pleading guilty. I did this. I never intended this to happen. I made a bad decision and I'll take the consequences, which kind of right there started setting the tone for people to be like, take responsibility for your actions and everything. And so then I go to LA County.
Do you shut yourself off in the middle of trial and everything? Do you shut yourself off from the world at that point? And do you not read? Do you not? Because it's got to be headline news.
Oh, it was headline news. There was, thousands photographers there.
It's hard enough. We're all human. We all do horrible things. There's all these things. It's one thing to do it with 5 people watching.
Yeah.
It's another thing to do with TMZ watching.
Yeah.
Do you, you're already feeling so low.
Yeah.
Like you don't even want to live at this point. And the whole world's watching. Do you just go into a cave mentally and socially, or did you know everything that was being said?
I did know everything being said.
Okay.
And it was definitely difficult days, but I have an amazing group of friends that I went to church with here that I've known since I was 12 years old.
Yeah.
That are there. They could care if I'm a movie star, or if I'm rich, if I'm not, if I'm poor, if I'm in jail, whatever. They're there for me, and they are my spiritual family and my. And so they were there for me, and that's all that mattered at the time.
So you just cling to the people.
I just cling to the people I know.
No more yes men.
No more yes men.
No more. Yeah, it's just
they're out the door.
There are a few people left.
Yep.
That at that point, so you go to prison.
So I go to prison, and when I get there, you would think that you must go to a nice prison or whatever. I went to LA County Jail, which is the worst. I can't even describe it. It's straight out of a movie. And when I get there, the guards basically put a target on my back because I'm the famous Prison Break actor. And they all watch Prison Break. Yeah. So when I get there, a guard plants a razor blade in my cell and then says, I'm going to try to cut a cop. And they set me up and throw me in solitary confinement. So I'm in solitary confinement for about 31 days, which is crazy. While I'm down there, there is a lifer, a guy that's going to be sentenced to death row for murder.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Gang member.
Okay.
Two cells down. And he calls out to me and he says, yo, Prison Break, have you had the dreams yet? And I'm about to get to this story where my life takes a turn.
Oh, okay.
For the better, even though I'm in the worst place imaginable.
So you're in solitary. There's
I'm in
a guy
solitary
you can't see him.
I cannot see him. I can only hear him.
So somebody told him you're there.
Somebody told him I'm here, and he calls out to me. He says, yo, Prison Break, you had the dreams yet? I said, what dreams? And he said, don't worry, they're coming. They're coming. So the next night, you're in there. You don't know if it's day or night.
Jeez.
The lights on. You have nothing. You've seen the movies. You know what
it's like it is.
It's bad.
Yeah.
It's bad. So I go to sleep from exhaustion, and I have this dream where literally I saw the other side, and the hands of God were placed on my shoulder, and I could hear Jesus say to me, what you're about to go through is extremely difficult, but not a hair on your head will be touched. And I'm literally I get chills.
I do too.
I got chills.
Same, me too.
And I literally see heaven I see Jesus. He's got his hands anointed on me. And I wake up and God, I got chills everywhere.
Oh.
I wake up and I just start sobbing uncontrollably. And he hears me and he says, you had the dreams. You had the dreams. So I'm start communicating with this guy about my dreams, who's going to death row for murder, gang member. And we're having spiritual dreams, conversations about the Lord.
Oh my gosh, what?
And immediately, the gift of discernment, and we always hear pastors say, God spoke to me tonight. And I'm like, what does he mean? God spoke to me.
That's what it was.
And this is what it was. And immediately I was reminded of Paul being imprisoned in Rome, and most of the New Testament being written by Paul while he was there. And there's a reason for this. When you're there, you are stripped of all stimuli. There's no cell phone. There's no TV. There's no books.
In your case, there's no light.
There's
right?
no light.
There's no sunlight. There's no vitamin A.
It is just you, and you get rid of all that, and you have a direct channel to God. And there's a reason why people say, oh, did you go to jail and find God? Well, yeah, because it's a spiritual battleground in there. And so for the next 2.5 years,
you were there 2.5 years.
2.5 years, not in LA County,
Okay.
but I moved to 8 prisons up and down the state of California because the media is trying to get a hold of me. And, people would think that's a bad thing. They're like, oh my gosh. And it was. Every day felt like a war zone. But I met 20,000 inmates and I got to be a bright light in a dark place. And that was my ministry. That was my ministry. God anointed me, and I went through, I'm not kidding you, Jamie, I went through 300 fights where guys were stabbed and shot, and I don't know what happened to them. Some people didn't make them. I'm talking side by side beside me, and not a hair on my head was ever touched. And to go through what I saw every day, that is only by the grace of God and his anointment on my life to have that ministry. I touched that show, Prison Break, because of it, I got to go. It didn't matter if you black, white, brown, whoever, gang member, non-gang member. I got to meet everybody. Where prison's very segregated and it's a hard place. But because of that show, I got to meet everyone and influence people and minister and be a bright light.
Wow.
I felt like Andy Dufresne a lot of times. And I got out and I knew I was really torn. Honestly, those dreams.
I'm like on the edge of my seat.
Those dreams and what happened to me literally
goodness.
gave me, they asked me, do you have PTSD? Which I did.
Right, because it has to become home at some point.
When you
it
come home.
has to become normalized a little. Though, like leaving must be.
Leaving was scary.
Really hard in itself.
Yeah.
Because at some point we get familiar with.
Well, your nervous system's so rewired because everything's life or death. That's heightened. So I would get out and I'd have tremors and I'd shake.
Yep.
And honestly, because of those dreams and because I feel like the veil was lifted and I saw the other side and I felt the other side, I'd always believed. I'd always been a believer. I'd always done it right. Minus the drinking and where my life had taken, I'd always done it, the bedside Christian. Like, I believe, I've got my Bible, yada, yada. Now I'm like, I know.
You're like a real.
I know the other side. It's like that movie Heaven is Real. Like, I know this kid's telling the truth.
Yeah.
And I've seen it. And to be honest, that gave me more PTSD than prison because I'm conflicted. What do I do with my life, God? I literally, when I got out, I said, I turned my life over to you. Am I supposed to be a minister? Am I?
Right.
I don't know what to do.
Because it's real in you now.
It's real.
Like, this is a real
It's real.
thing
And I
for
feel
you.
like I can't relate to the average guy.
Did you give up on the dream at any point?
I did.
Okay.
When I got out, I did. And that was kind of one of the things. And, and I know everyone that's a believer has heard this before. When you surrender something, to God and you give everything to him.
Right.
He might take you down the path you want. He might take you down the path that he wants you to be on.
That you don't want to, but he wants, right?
And so I surrendered that. I was like, I don't have to act right, but where do you want me?
You probably felt like you didn't have anything to lose.
I didn't have anything
at that point.
to lose.
You just need, you're just trying to stabilize as a person and probably physically even.
And it's weird. And little by little, these roles started to just come up to me without me even pursuing things. And if I look back now, I tell everybody the same thing. Like, all these roles I played, that's just God giving me that role, wanting me to play it. Because if I look back at the ministry involved behind those roles, and the lives I've gotten to touch, where it had nothing to do with the project. It has nothing to do with me playing in Bonnie and Clyde or Roots or whatever. It has everything to do with what happened behind the scenes with the people on set, the people not on set I met, and everything else. So I feel like now I'm just kind of like God's vehicle.
Yeah.
Like I'm his puppet, and he's throwing me where he wants me. And now I'm doing 12 Mighty Orphans. So, and even the way, that this movie found me is it's 100% God. And I feel so blessed, but you know, that was the thing. My wife, Mary Caitlin, you know, she's been the greatest gift out of everything. Yeah. And then my daughter, Lyndon, and those were things I prayed for. Yeah. And I never thought I would receive.
Hearing the story now, you said that at the beginning, hearing the story now, I'm like, oh, wow, that I can see now why you prayed for it, never dreaming.
Oh, yeah.
That you could, and look what God has done.
Yeah, I know. I mean, you talk about.
Did you ever, okay, so this whole thing happens in prison. You kept God with you from then on?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I went through some troubling, like I talked about.
Well,
I had PTS.
We're all human. We have stuff,
yeah,
right?
I went
but
through
he's always been there.
He's always been there. I went through that PTSD deal was a real thing. And I feel for people that can really mess you up. Post doing the hard time. It took about 3 years to really get back in gear because I was so messed up from all of it. Yeah. And, but I will never forget that as long as I live, sitting there with a guy who seemed unredeemable. Yeah. You know? Yeah. And we've all read those stories. I mean, Paul was Saul and it was a murderer. And we always, it sounds good in the Bible. Pretty. Yeah. It sounds good in the Bible.
When you're watching Iron Orchard when you're reading the Bible. Right.
When you're reading about the story and
watching the movie. Yeah.
When you experience faith in prison ministries, it's the real deal. That's the real battleground.
Do you know what happened to him?
I don't know what happened to him.
Did you ever even find
his name? I didn't know his name.
You didn't know his name?
They called him like Cool. And I'm telling you, feel the forces of evil and good. Like it is a spiritual battle and war ground there. But, you know, now here we are. Yeah. My life, it's only by the grace of God that I've survived all of that I'm here, that I have an amazing, faithful wife that helps keep me in line and in check, and a child, and in a ministry in my own right. I don't have a church, but I do have that. And I say this to everybody, to be bluntly and brutally honest with yourself and your flaws and your inadequacies. Because when you are like that, you will connect to somebody else and you'll be able to minister to them. And
so true.
It's, we are all human and we all fall short of the grace of God. Yes. Right. And we all are sinners. So if we can be honest with each other in that, we can help each other and minister to people and help each other grow. And that's been the biggest thing for me for so long. Yeah. I wanted to deny it and not be open about it and hide.
Get in the penthouse and then
And that's just not real life. And
it doesn't help anybody.
Doesn't help anybody. It doesn't help me grow.
But this helps a lot of people.
Yeah.
Man. Okay, so I have a question. Yeah. How'd you get your confidence back? What do you think? Can you pinpoint what? Because that's a lot of life lived.
It is a lot of life lived.
And
I'm trying to think because
you gave up on the dream at some point. You're in you're thinking everything like that, and here you sit, and unless you told the story, none of these guys would ever guess any of that had ever happened to you. How
the acting confidence came back with Bonnie and Clyde.
Okay,
that went on.
So
to
a practical thing.
Practical thing, but the life internal.
Yes,
that did not. That confidence did not come until Mary Caitlin came into my life and fully restored my heart. Because even going through all that stuff and seeing all the bad side of humanity wears on your heart. And my heart was definitely harden. And so when she entered my life, and that's why I say you're God's answered prayer in my life, because I literally prayed to have a partner, excuse me, in this. And, you know, when I was 15, I heard a sermon at the Heights about pray for your future spouse. And I'd been praying that all these years, but never believing that God would hear that answer. And so to me, that's like the greatest accomplishment in my life. You know, I've done some really cool movies and TV shows.
And there's a lot still coming.
Yeah. I mean, wherever he wants to take me, I'm there.
But you know what's important now, it sounds like.
I know what's important. And it's just been remarkable. It's really cool when you can look back at your life or moments and know that it was your faith and it was the hand of God at work. And if you can do that, then there's no ego involved. Yeah. And and that's our biggest struggle as men, I think, is ego. Sure. I mean, we want to think we're great at something. We did
made that happen for ourselves. We overcame.
Yeah, we did this. I did this. Did you see what I did? What we did? And if you can shed that ego and realize, man, you're just a vehicle, and that's the hand of God at work in your life. And He gave Jamie talents, and He gave Dustin talents, and He gave the guys behind the camera over here there's certain talents, and we're all to be used in that way. And for some reason, he gave me some performing talents, and so that's my plight. But
so good.
I'm blessed.
I think we're on Sermon 10 now.
Sermon
I'm ready
10.
to get saved if I was.
Part due. Come on down to church 1132. Get saved.
What's
I do want to say this.
Yeah.
Yo. It's Tweener from church 1132. Yo. I do want to say this. Something. I live outside of Austin in Hutto, Texas, but I consider this my home church. And I consider this, and so does Mary Caitlin. And in fact, so much so that we considered, like, are we supposed to live up here because of the church? Yeah. And honestly, and that's a prayer going on in our lives now. And do we want our little girl to go here, or are we supposed to be down there, or wherever? This church, you want to talk about the hand of God at work in this church. It is incredible. And for the people listening that weren't here at the little harvest with the low ceilings and the bad lighting.
And the snakes in the
corn. And the snakes in the cornfield.
That's a joke.
That is a joke. You feel the hand of God at work here. And so awesome. It's worked in my life, and it's put me in check. And, Pastor Steve is one of my favorite people too.
Mine too.
And we talk about
that's our founding pastor for anybody who doesn't know. Yeah.
And you talk about humility. And the ability to say, hey, I'm going to take a seat because Dustin needs to take over. And I got the message. I mean, you don't hear that in churches. But, because being the big wig pastor, that's a big deal. And, there is some ego behind that usually. And you don't hear that. But he said to me one day, he preached here when Dustin y'all were gone. And he preached about legacy, or you might have been here. And he talked all about legacy. And I felt like he was staring through my soul. Wow. And his wife, Lisa, was looking over at me too. I'm like, what is going on? And she walked right over to me afterwards and said, that sermon, I just want to tell you, God was speaking to me that whole time was for you. And so I associate this church with my legacy and my walk and where I'm supposed to be.
It's amazing.
And it's just incredible. And I encourage anybody that's listening that hasn't found a home church yet to get in here and check it out. The music's a little loud.
It's Dustin. So loud.
It's so loud.
It's so loud.
But we do have earplugs.
We do have earplugs.
The music is loud, but it is the music is amazing though. And the sermons are real. And if you want to connect with people young and old, it's remarkable.
And your story is a part of it now, which is pretty cool too, because God is, at the end of the day, if God's hand is on us, we're going to be okay.
That's it. You got to be tested to have a testimony, right?
That's the truth. Sermon number 11. Okay, before you go. 12 Mighty Orphans.
Okay.
Tell us about it. You're writing it. You're producing it.
And I'm acting.
You're acting. Are you a coach?
I am a coach.
That's so perfect.
And I'm a bad coach. Sorry, honey.
Of course you are. Oh my goodness.
Coach Luther Scarborough.
MK isn't going to be able to watch this one either.
She'll be able to watch this one.
Okay,
this
you don't
one,
kill or cheat.
No.
You're just mean.
No, I'm
okay.
just a mean coach that wants orphans kicked out of football. It's terrible. I'll tell you. So
Okay,
quick
tell us
backstory
about
on the
it.
movie.
Yep.
12 Mighty Orphans. It stars Luke Wilson, Martin Sheen, Robert Duvall, Wayne Knight, Vanessa Shaw, myself, and these 12 amazing kids, 9 of which are Texans.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And it's based
That's a good cast right there.
It is a good cast. It's great. Oh, and Treat Williams just signed on yesterday.
Oh, how cool.
And it's based on a book, Jim Dent novel called 12 Mighty Orphans of the same name.
Did you read the book?
I did read the book and adapted the book.
Okay.
And it's
So
based
you
based
like
on
fell
a
in
true
love with
story.
the book, and then okay, so it's a true story.
It's a
You
true
read it, and you're
story.
like, oh my gosh, this
I
has
read
to be
it,
a movie.
and this is once again the hand of God at work in my life because, it's about orphans, which I was, as we know, lost my parents younger, who play football, which football was my guiding force through life, and so the story really quickly. Rusty Russell was a very well-known coach in
Is this
Temple.
Luke Wilson's character?
Yes,
Okay.
this is Luke Wilson's character in Temple, who had a successful winning program, who gets approached by the Masons in the 30s and says, we have an orphanage in Fort Worth with 150 kids, and we'd like to start a football program. Would you leave this place with everything for a place with nothing? He, being an orphan himself, says yes. His wife is not happy about this.
Yeah, sure.
So he moves his family up to Fort Worth. This is a true story, by the way. And he starts a football team with these orphan kids that don't even have shoes. And he takes 12 football players, 12 orphans that had never played football, and they make it all the way to the state championship game versus Amarillo that had a team of 60 strong. And not one of these kids weighed over 200 pounds.
No.
They'd never played football.
What?
They inspired the entire nation during the height of the Great Depression, so much so that President Roosevelt would hang a 12 banner from the White House every week that they played. For the 12 orphans. And they were called the 12 Mighty Mites. And they inspired a nation that was hurting, and they were kids with nothing who overcame everything to inspire this nation. So it is a really feel-good story. You will laugh and cry as we have. You know, while I'm watching these scenes, I'm not saying this because I wrote it. While I watch the scenes be filmed, you will laugh out loud, and then there are scenes that will break your heart where everyone's crying. In fact, Martin Sheen, who we all know is a well-known actor, stood up and applauded a scene we did last week that had everyone in tears. And so this is going to be a really moving movie. Yeah. It's going to inspire people, and it's got it has a great message of faith behind it. Really? And I've made sure I've woven that in there with it. You know, a lot of times people will come up to me and know my beliefs and say, well, why did you act in Roots or whatever? And I've been the first to say, we've actually had this conversation, like some of these Christian movies are, I'm just going to say it, are hokey and they're terrible.
It's just true.
They're terribly acted.
It's just,
you can have a message and be real and raw. And you can walk out of a movie and feel great and inspired and get a message of faith without a Bible being thrown at your head. Because it's
could
being
not
real
agree
and true.
more. Amen to that sermon number 12.
Sermon number 12. But what we're doing with this film has that element of belief and faith, and you're going to get all of that without feeling hokey. And
I love it.
It's just a really inspiring story, and I felt like God was called me to write it because I was one of those kids.
Yeah, sure.
So I can relate to it, and that'll be out. I'm imagining next summer, maybe Thanksgiving. My dream for it is, please God, is a Thanksgiving Day release, family oriented, feel good. So,
well, why don't you come back?
I'll come back
the next
when
release.
it's that
Bring
one.
MK with you.
Yeah. In the meantime, everybody go rent the Iron Orchard.
Go rent the Iron Orchard if you want to see him be really naughty. Two things. It's pretty wild how your life has paralleled your movies.
Yeah.
And the screen. And I heard somebody the other day say, it was Bishop T.D. Jakes, and he said, everybody thinks if Jesus came back, you got to get to your next interview. Okay. Oh my. No, we're okay. We're okay.
Yeah.
You're good. He said, everybody thinks if Jesus came back now, or if he was living now, he'd be a pastor. And he goes, he'd never be a pastor. He goes, he'd be a TV producer, writer, director.
Really?
Because Jesus always spoke in art form. It was always stories. It was always, that is what, and that's pretty powerful. And that's what you're saying. You don't have to, I mean, everybody's call. I mean, I'm a pastor, so I'm not dogging pastors, but it's pretty cool that if you can, I was listening to somebody today and they were talking about how you'll never convince somebody by throwing information at them, but if you can tell them a story, right? If you can tell them a story.
I mean, the Bible, look at all the stories in the Bible.
It is a narrative.
It is a narrative. There's movie after movie in there.
It absolutely is. And so I'm just so excited and happy for you, what God's done in your life, as hard as it's been.
Yeah.
Like you're telling stories that are going to impact people.
I feel very blessed to be able to do that. And I do agree. I think all of us, we have our own ministries.
We do.
You know, even if you're an accountant,
yes,
you've got a ministry.
Somebody's got to make sure we're audited correctly.
Yeah. I need a good one. Don't audit me. But I mean, you know, that we all have our ministry.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to be in TV or film or on stage here to do it. And I'm fortunate enough. I get to do something I love, and
so
that he allows me to do.
It's pretty cool. And you got Mary Caitlin with you. You got Lyndon with you now.
I've got my wife.
And you got God's hand on your life.
Got
and
God's
it's
hand
all
on my life.
redeemed.
It is all redeemed, and heaven is real. I will promise you that.
That's pretty
I
cool.
promise you that.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
this. Oh my goodness. Give us one tweener. Can you remember?
Yo. Hey, everybody. You know, I just want to thank Jamie right now, because she up in here at Church 1132 doing her thing on the podcast. You know what I'm saying? Church 1132, big shouts out, big props to my boy Michael Schofield. You need to get in this church and get down. Peace.
It really is in you. Oh, Lane, love you, brother. Thank you so much. That was so good.
Yeah,
oh my goodness. Killed it.
Awesome.
Absolutely amazing. That's going to impact people.
I hope so.
That's pretty, I know it will.
I hope so.